A police officer shouts the command. The K9 charges forward, its sharp eyes locked on the suspect. Everyone expects a takedown. This dog has never failed before. But just as it reaches the man, it stops. The officers freeze. What is happening? The K9 does something so shocking that even the most experienced cops are left speechless. Was this an act of defiance or something much bigger? What the officers discovered next changed everything. Stay tuned, because this is a story you will never forget. Welcome to Creature Clips, where we bring you the most unbelievable real-life stories. From heartwarming animal rescues to jaw-dropping moments that defy logic, we cover the most incredible events that leave people stunned. In today's video, we take you inside a shocking police operation that took an unexpected turn. It all started like a routine arrest. Officers, a suspect, and a highly trained K9 ready to take down the target. But within seconds, everything changed. The dog, instead of following orders, hesitated. What happened next left the officers frozen in disbelief. Was the K9 refusing to obey? Had something gone wrong with its training? Or was there something much bigger at play? At first, the officers thought it was a mistake, until they took a closer look at the suspect and made a discovery no one was prepared for. This unbelievable moment proves that animals have instincts beyond what we can comprehend. But what exactly did the K9 sense? Why did it refuse to attack? And how did this one hesitation turn an entire case upside down? Make sure to watch till the very end, because this story is not just about law enforcement, it is about the incredible intelligence of man's best friend. Before we dive in, if you love real-life stories that keep you on the edge of your seat, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. It was a chilly autumn evening when the call came in. The sun had long since set, casting a dim orange glow on the horizon before fading into complete darkness. A thin layer of fog hung over the quiet streets of the small suburban town, making the street lights appear like ghostly orbs floating in the night. The wind rustled the fallen leaves along the pavement, and the distant hum of passing cars was the only sound breaking the eerie silence. Most businesses had already closed for the night, their neon signs flickering off one by one. The convenience store at the corner of Hamilton and Fifth had its metal shutters down, a clear sign that the day's operations had ended hours ago. Yet, despite the stillness of the street, a lone figure stood beneath the dim glow of a flickering streetlight. He had been there for over an hour, motionless, silent, and seemingly unaware of the world around him. Inside the local police station, the atmosphere was much different. Officers were finishing up their paperwork, the low murmur of conversation mixing with the occasional ringing of phones. It had been an uneventful night so far, just a few minor disturbances, nothing out of the ordinary. That was until the radio crackled to life, breaking the monotony. Dispatch to Unit 12. We have reports of a suspicious male loitering near Hamilton and Fifth. Caller states the subject has been standing outside the closed convenience store for over an hour. No reported weapons, but he is acting strangely. Officer Jake Turner, a seasoned 12-year veteran of the force, instinctively reached for the radio. He had handled countless calls like this before: late-night loiterers, drunk troublemakers, and the occasional trespasser. Usually, these situations were nothing serious, but protocol demanded a response. He pressed the button on his radio. Unit 12 responding. En route now. As he grabbed his keys from the desk, his partner for the night, Officer Lisa Ramirez, glanced at him. "You think it is another homeless guy?" she asked, fastening her bulletproof vest. Turner shrugged. "Probably. Maybe just someone waiting for a ride and doesn't realize how sketchy he looks standing there alone." Ramirez nodded, but did not look entirely convinced. "Still, an hour is a long time to just stand there. Let's check it out." They were not going alone. In the back seat of their cruiser sat Rex, the department's most trusted K9. The Belgian Malinois was more than just a police dog. He was a highly trained, disciplined force of nature. With a keen nose for narcotics, an unshakable focus in high-pressure situations, and the agility of a born hunter, Rex had been involved in some of the department's most critical operations. He had tracked down missing persons, sniffed out hidden contraband, and apprehended dangerous suspects without hesitation. Turner glanced back at him as he climbed into the driver's seat. "Ready for some action, buddy?" Rex's ears perked up, his sharp eyes locking onto Turner for a brief moment before he let out a low, eager whine. He was always ready. As the patrol car pulled out of the station parking lot, neither officer had any idea that this routine call would turn into something far more shocking than anything they had ever encountered. The drive to the location was uneventful, but as they neared the intersection of Hamilton and Fifth, the tension in the car thickened. The street was mostly deserted, with only a few parked cars and dimly lit apartment windows in the distance. Then they saw him. Under the weak glow of the streetlight stood the lone figure, just as the caller had described. He was dressed in a dark hoodie and worn-out jeans, his posture rigid, his hands shoved deep into his pockets. The most unsettling part, however, was the way he stood there, completely still, as if frozen in time. He did not pace, did not glance around nervously like someone waiting for a ride. He was just standing. Turner slowed the vehicle to a crawl, his sharp eyes scanning the scene. "That is odd," he muttered. Ramirez leaned forward, observing the man closely. "He is not moving at all." Grabbing the radio, she reported back to dispatch. "Dispatch, we have eyes on the subject. Male, approximately mid-30s, standing in front of the closed store. No visible weapons. He is acting strange." As she spoke, the man finally moved. He turned his head slightly, revealing a glimpse of his face beneath the shadow of his hood. His skin appeared pale, his expression vacant. Then, without warning, he took a slow, deliberate step toward the police cruiser. Ramirez felt a shiver run down her spine. That is not normal. Turner's grip on the steering wheel tightened. He was experienced enough to know when something felt off. "Let's approach carefully," he said, putting the car in park. The two officers stepped out of the vehicle, their hands instinctively resting near their holsters, not drawing their weapons, but prepared to act if needed. "Sir," Turner called out, keeping his voice calm, yet authoritative. "We received a call about you standing here for a long time. Can you tell us what you're doing?" The man did not answer. Instead, he took another slow step forward, his breathing heavy and labored. Ramirez glanced at Turner. "What do you think? Drunk? On something?" Before Turner could respond, the man reached into his pocket. "Sir, keep your hands where we can see them," Turner ordered, his voice firm. The man did not comply. Instead, he slowly continued reaching, his movements sluggish yet deliberate. Turner's heart pounded. This was the moment where things could turn deadly in an instant. Was he reaching for a weapon? A knife? A gun? "Sir, hands up! Now!" Turner commanded again. Still, no response. Ramirez unfastened the strap on her holster, preparing for the worst. That was when Turner made the call. "We are deploying the K-9. Rex had been watching everything unfold from the back seat, his ears perked and body tense. The moment Turner gave the command, the back door of the cruiser was unlocked, and Rex leaped out in a flash. His paws hit the pavement with force, his sharp eyes locked on the suspect. The dog's body was tense, muscles coiled, ready to strike at the slightest provocation. He had done this dozens of times before, and he knew exactly what was expected of him. The suspect finally reacted, but not in the way anyone expected. The moment Rex lunged forward, the man let out a strange, low groan and suddenly dropped to his knees. Rex, mere inches away from attacking, did something shocking. He stopped. His nose twitched as he sniffed the air, his posture changing from aggressive to cautious. Then, to the complete bewilderment of both officers, the highly trained K-9 let out a soft whimper and backed away. Turner and Ramirez exchanged stunned glances. What the hell just happened? Ramirez whispered. Turner had no answer. Rex had never hesitated before. But something about this man, something unseen, had made the dog stop. And in the next few moments, the officers would learn the shocking truth about why. The tension in the air was suffocating. Officer Jake Turner stood frozen, his hand still hovering near his holster as he processed what had just happened. His highly trained K9, Rex, the same dog who had taken down countless criminals, sniffed out hidden drugs, and never hesitated in the line of duty, had just backed away from a suspect. Not out of fear, not out of hesitation, but because something about this man was wrong. Turner's partner, Officer Lisa Ramirez, took a cautious step forward, her heartbeat pounding in her ears. "What the hell just happened?" she whispered, glancing between the suspect and the now cautious K9. Turner could not answer. His mind raced through every possible explanation. Rex had been trained to attack on command, to subdue criminals, to protect his handler at all costs. Yet here he was, standing just a few feet from the suspect, his ears pinned back, his tail low, and his body tense with uncertainty. The man, still kneeling on the pavement, remained eerily still. He had not flinched when the K9 lunged. He had not screamed. He had not even shown the natural fear most people had when faced with an attacking police dog. Instead, he simply knelt there, his head tilted slightly downward, his face obscured by the shadows of his hood. And then, he did something even stranger. He reached out his hand, slowly, deliberately, and placed it on the ground in front of him, palm facing upward. His fingers twitched slightly, as if beckoning something unseen. Rex let out a low whimper, his body stiff as he took another step back. Turner's gut tightened. Something was very wrong here. "Sir," Turner barked, his voice sharp and authoritative. "Keep your hands where we can see them. What are you doing?" No response. The man remained kneeling, his hand still stretched out in front of him, his breathing slow and steady. Ramirez reached for her radio. "Dispatch, we need backup at Hamilton and 5th. Suspect is unresponsive and acting erratically." "Copy that, Unit 12. Additional units en route. ETA 5 minutes. 5 minutes? That might as well have been an eternity. Turner's eyes flicked back to Rex. The dog was still watching the man closely, his nostrils flaring as he took cautious sniffs. Then, to everyone's horror, Rex suddenly whimpered again and laid down. Turner's stomach dropped. "Number, that is not right. A police K9 never lays down in front of a suspect. Not unless..." His mind raced. There was only one reason a K9 would act this way in the field. If the suspect was dead. The air grew heavier, thick with an unshakable sense of wrongness. Ramirez gripped her gun tighter, her breath hitching. "Jake, what if..." She could not finish the sentence. Turner refused to acknowledge the thought. The man was right in front of them, breathing. Was he not? He had moved. He had reached into his pocket. He was alive. He had to be alive. But then, why was Rex reacting like this? Turner forced himself to take a step closer. "Sir, I need you to stand up, now." His voice was firm, commanding, yet edged with uncertainty. Still, no response. Turner reached for the flashlight on his belt, flicked it on, and aimed the beam directly at the suspect's face. What he saw made his blood run cold. The man's eyes were open, wide open, yet they did not blink, did not shift, did not react to the bright light blinding them. His pupils were dilated, completely black. His skin, now fully illuminated, was pale and waxy, as if it had been drained of life. A terrible realization clawed its way into Turner's mind. No, he cannot be. The man had been standing there for over an hour, without moving, without blinking, without making a single sound. And now, kneeling in front of them, he was doing the same. His lips parted slightly. A dry, brittle crackling sound escaped, like the rustling of dead leaves. Rex let out a soft whine, his tail tucked between his legs. Turner took a slow, steady breath. He had been in the force long enough to know that his instincts were rarely wrong. Right now, every fiber of his being was screaming at him to get away from this man. Ramirez took another step back. "Jake, something is really off about this guy." Turner swallowed hard. "Yeah, I know." He lifted the radio to his mouth. "Dispatch, we need paramedics at our location. Suspect is unresponsive and showing signs of..." He stopped mid-sentence. Because the man was smiling. A slow, unnerving stretch of his lips revealed unnaturally white teeth. His lips cracked at the corners, splitting slightly as if his skin were too tight for his face. Then, in a voice that sent ice through Turner's veins, the man whispered, "I was waiting for you." Before Turner could react, the streetlights above flickered violently, once, twice, before plunging the entire block into darkness. A gust of icy wind rushed through the air, making both officers instinctively raise their arms to shield their faces. Rex let out a loud, frantic bark. Then the man moved. Not normally, not like a human. His body snapped upright in an unnatural, jerky motion, like a puppet whose strings had just been yanked. Turner's instincts took over. "Down!" he shouted. Rex lunged, this time with full force, but passed straight through the man. For a split second, it was as if the man was not there at all. Rex landed on the other side, confused, his paws scraping against the pavement as he spun around, his ears flattened against his skull. Then, just as quickly as it had vanished, the power returned. The streetlights flickered back on. The world was normal again, except for one thing. The man was gone. Not a trace of him remained. No footprints in the dust. No shadow retreating down the alleyway. Just gone. Turner and Ramirez stood there in stunned silence. The only sound was Rex's heavy breathing as he circled the spot where the man had been, sniffing furiously but finding nothing. Then the sound of sirens echoed down the street. Backup had arrived. When the other officers stepped out of their vehicles, they expected to find a suspect in cuffs. Instead, they found two shaken officers and a police K9 staring at nothing. "What the hell happened here?" one of the backup officers asked. Turner exchanged a glance with Ramirez. Neither of them knew what to say. Because how do you explain something? That should not be possible. How do you tell someone that a man disappeared into thin air right in front of you? How do you explain why a highly trained police K9, a dog that could sniff out the faintest scent, could not track him? Ramirez finally spoke, her voice hoarse. He was just here. The officers scanned the area, but there was nothing to find. No sign of forced entry into the store. No evidence of a struggle. No dropped belongings. Just an empty street under flickering streetlights. And a mystery that neither Turner, Ramirez, nor anyone else could ever explain. But one thing was certain. That man, whoever, or whatever he was, had been waiting for them. And somehow, some way, he had known they would come. The streetlights flickered overhead, casting long shadows on the pavement, as Officer Jake Turner and his partner, Lisa Ramirez, stood frozen. Their police K9, Rex, remained low to the ground, ears back, tail tucked, a posture they had never seen from him before. Turner's pulse pounded in his ears. He had seen Rex take down the most hardened criminals without hesitation. Yet here he was, whimpering, backing away from a suspect who had done nothing but kneel. Why? Ramirez broke the silence. "Something is wrong, Jake. I can feel it." Turner exhaled, forcing himself to focus. He took another step forward, his hand hovering near his holster. His years of training told him to stay cautious, but his gut told him something different. "Sir," he called out, his voice firm but measured, "we need you to stand up. Slowly. Can you do that?" No response. The man remained hunched over, his body trembling slightly. His hand, still outstretched on the ground, twitched. Rex let out a low whine. Turner's eyes narrowed. Something about the way the man's fingers curled and flexed did not seem like a voluntary movement. It was jerky, unnatural. Ramirez suddenly gasped. "Jake, look at his hands." Turner flicked his flashlight downward. The man's hands were clenched into tight, claw-like fists. His knuckles were white, his nails digging into his palms. A realization struck Turner like a punch to the gut. This was not defiance. This was not resistance. This was something else entirely. And then the man's body jerked violently. He convulsed once, then again. And then, with a sickening thud, he collapsed onto the pavement. "Shit!" Ramirez dropped to her knees beside the man, pressing her fingers against his neck. Turner immediately reached for his radio. "Dispatch, we need medical assistance at Hamilton and 5th. Suspect is unresponsive. Possible seizure." "Copy that, Unit 12. EMTs en route." The words barely registered. Turner was too focused on the scene unfolding before him. The man's entire body was trembling now, his muscles contracting uncontrollably. His breathing was ragged and shallow, his chest rising and falling in uneven jerks. His eyes, which had once seemed so eerily still, were now darting rapidly beneath his eyelids. It hit Turner like a freight train. He is not resisting. He is in distress. And Rex, loyal, intelligent, highly trained Rex, had sensed it before anyone else. That was why he had stopped. That was why he had whimpered instead of attacking. Because to Rex, this was not a criminal. This was a human being in desperate need of help. Ramirez quickly turned the man onto his side, making sure he did not choke. "We need to keep his airway clear," she said, her voice tight with urgency. Turner nodded, his mind racing. He had dealt with plenty of emergencies, but seizures were a different kind of danger. And this one looked severe. The man's body stiffened again. A deep, guttural sound escaped his throat. Turner clenched his jaw. "Come on, hold on." The sound of approaching sirens cut through the air. Finally, EMTs were on their way. But Turner could not shake the uneasy feeling twisting in his gut. What if they had acted differently? What if they had assumed this man was a threat? What if Rex had not been there to stop them? A single mistake could have turned this into a tragedy, and they would never have known the truth. The paramedics arrived within minutes, rushing to the man's side. As they worked to stabilize him, Turner and Ramirez took a step back, watching in tense silence. It was only now, under the flashing red and blue lights of the ambulance, that Turner got a better look at the suspect. He was young, mid-30s maybe. His clothes were worn but clean. His face, now slack from exhaustion, looked pale and gaunt. No weapons, no signs of aggression. Just a man, alone in the night, suffering in silence. Turner exchanged a glance with Ramirez. They were both thinking the same thing. Who was he? And why had he been out here alone in the cold for so long? As if reading their minds, one of the paramedics spoke up. "You guys might have just saved his life." Turner swallowed. "What happened?" The EMT sighed. "Looks like a severe epileptic seizure. Could be from a medical condition, dehydration, stress, hard to say. If you had not stopped when you did..." He shook his head. "He could have gone into cardiac arrest. You were lucky to catch it in time." Turner's throat tightened. Not lucky. Rex knew. Rex sat beside Turner, watching everything unfold with those intelligent, knowing eyes. Turner reached down, running a hand over the dog's fur. "You knew before we did, huh, buddy?" Rex licked his hand in response, as if to say, "Of course." Turner let out a slow breath. It was humbling. For years, he had trusted his training, his instincts, his experience. But tonight, it had been a dog, his loyal, fearless partner, who had shown him the truth. Sometimes instinct is more powerful than logic. And sometimes the real heroes are the ones who cannot speak. As the ambulance doors closed and the paramedics prepared to transport the man to the hospital, Turner felt a deep sense of relief. Tonight could have ended very differently. And it was only because of Rex's hesitation, his refusal to attack, that an innocent man was getting the medical help he so desperately needed. Turner gave one last glance toward the flashing ambulance lights before turning to Ramirez. "Let us take Rex for a treat after this," he said with a small smile. "He earned it." Ramirez smirked. "I think he just saved a life." Turner nodded. "Yeah, he did." As they walked back to their cruiser, Rex trotting beside them, Turner could not help but feel a deep sense of gratitude. For his job, for his team, and for the dog who had reminded him that sometimes the most important thing an officer can do is to stop and listen. The flashing lights of the ambulance disappeared into the distance, but the moment still lingered in the air. The incredible instinct of one highly trained K9 had changed everything. If Rex had not reacted the way he did, things could have gone horribly wrong. As the officers stood in silence, reflecting on what had just happened, the true weight of the moment sank in. This was more than just a lucky coincidence. This was proof of the incredible intelligence and emotional depth of animals. And now, it was time to share this experience with the world. This story is just one of the countless examples of how intelligent and intuitive dogs truly are. But what makes dogs so special? Why do they have an uncanny ability to sense things that even humans cannot? Throughout history, dogs have been known for their extraordinary abilities. They have been used in search and rescue missions, therapy, and even medical detection. Some dogs can sense a seizure before it happens, detect cancer through scent, and even comfort people during emotional distress. But why do they do this? Is it just instinct, or is there something more? Science tells us that dogs have an incredibly powerful sense of smell, up to 100,000 times stronger than humans. They can pick up chemical changes in the body, subtle shifts in behavior, and even detect stress or fear. But beyond that, their loyalty and deep connection to humans make them truly unique. And in this case, Rex did not just rely on his training, he relied on something deeper. Now, we want to hear from you. Have you ever witnessed an animal do something incredible? Maybe your dog has comforted you when you were feeling down, or perhaps you have seen a service dog in action. Share your stories in the comments below. Engaging the audience is crucial in any successful YouTube video. This moment serves as an opportunity for viewers to interact, share their own experiences, and build a sense of community around the video. To keep the conversation going, we will also include some follow-up prompts. Have you ever had a pet that seemed to understand your emotions? Do you believe dogs have a sixth sense? What is the most amazing thing you have seen an animal do? Encouraging viewers to respond makes them feel involved in the story and increases engagement on the video, boosting its visibility. This story also highlights the incredible work of K9 units around the world. Police dogs like Rex are not just tools. They are partners, companions, and sometimes even lifesavers. Every day, these brave dogs put themselves in danger to protect their handlers and communities. To further educate viewers, we can briefly discuss the rigorous training police dogs go through, the different roles K9s serve in law enforcement, tracking suspects, detecting drugs and explosives, search and rescue missions, heartwarming real-life stories of police dogs saving lives. By adding these insights, we provide additional value to the audience, increasing the chances they will watch until the end and engage in the comments. Narrator: if you are amazed by the intelligence of dogs and their ability to change lives, do not forget to hit that like button. It really helps us out and lets us know you want more stories like this. A strong call to action is essential for growing the channel. The best way to encourage engagement is to explain why it matters. Checkmark. Liking the video helps the YouTube algorithm suggest it to more people. Commenting not only shares experiences, but also builds a supportive community. Subscribing and turning on notifications ensures they never miss another incredible story. To make the call to action even more effective, we can add, and if you love stories like this, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. This simple step encourages long-term engagement and helps the channel grow. And before you go, do not miss our next video, a heart-stopping story of a loyal dog who saved a child from an unexpected danger. Trust me, you do not want to miss it. Teasing the next video is an excellent way to keep viewers coming back for more. It builds anticipation and encourages them to stay subscribed. At the end of the day, this story is a reminder of the deep connection between humans and animals. They are more than just pets or working partners. They are protectors, companions, and sometimes even heroes. As the video fades to black, the final message leaves a lasting impression, ensuring that viewers walk away feeling inspired and engaged. This incredible moment proved that canines are more than just trained officers. They are heroes with instincts beyond our understanding. The suspect was rushed to the hospital, and doctors confirmed that if it were not for the canine's hesitation, he might not have survived. What do you think about this shocking twist? Drop your thoughts below.